Welcome to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gann, the podcast for people-centric leaders, business owners, and HR professionals who know that people are at the heart of business success. Join me and industry experts as we explore the key aspects of building a thriving company, sharing cutting-edge strategies, impactful insights, and the latest trends to help you ignite your business growth. It's time to rev up your leadership, rev up your success. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Rev Up Your Business. Today, my guest is Hillarie Kay, and we are going to talk about how to fascinate to elevate. Most of you know that I am a Fascination Certified Advisor. Our topic today is Fascinate to Elevate, supercharging potential through the science of influence. So we are going to do a deep dive into Fascinate Advantage. Hillarie is the author of the Burnout Recovery System. She's a speaker, a corporate trainer, executive coach, and the chief of culture and strategy at How to Fascinate. She works with leaders and teams in startups all the way up to Fortune 100 industry giants, helping high-performing entrepreneurs and teams reduce burnout and increase performance by coaching them on how to find equilibrium between their inner motivation and their outer influence. Welcome, Hillarie.
Thank you for having me, Hilda. I'm so excited for this conversation.
I'm so excited too because it's a chance for us to do a deep dive on fascination. A lot of people don't really know a lot about fascination, and maybe you can just start by saying what fascination is, or Fascinate Advantage.
Sure, absolutely. So How to Fascinate was founded by Sally Hogshead. She is a world-class New York Times bestselling author a couple of times over. And she was in the marketing industry and was really looking for a tool to help people become more of who they are. And back then it was how to help brands become more of who they are. And so she spent years developing this tool, this test, and it is the only test out there that is based on how other people see you, not how you see the world. There are so many brilliant tools about how you see the world. What are your strengths? But this is the only tool out there that helps you identify how the world sees you. And so how the world sees you is how you can best influence and make the highest impact you can.
And what I love about all the tools that I've ever taken, because I do try many, many tools, this was the one that resonated with me most because it helps others see how other people perceive you. And when people take the test, they said, I always thought I knew how people saw me, but I wasn't quite sure. And now this objective test validates. So then they said, I now feel more confident in who I am. And some people learn how to fascinate because now they understand what their greatest strengths are. And each one of us uses it differently. And I know you use it in terms of working with people so they don't burn out. Do you want to talk about that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So this, burnout is a huge, huge problem, right? In our society. And so what I realized as my years of research and burnout is that people are not burning out because they're working hard, right? They're not burning out because they're stressed. They're burning out because they're misunderstood, whether that's misunderstanding themselves, right? Or people around them misunderstanding their intentions, right? And so I've really seen that this tool that How to Fascinate, coupled with some other tools, really helps high performers recognize how how their personality communicates, contributes, and feels valued. And once they have that understanding, that why behind the what, that hard work, it helps them live in a way that's more in alignment with who they are. And so they don't they don't burn out. And it's about that acceptance, right? When I coach clients, when I'm going into teams, I first start out by saying, like, it's all welcome. Right? Like, there is no good or bad personality trait or strength or motivation. It's all welcome, but it's about radically accepting that in yourself. Like, okay, no, this is how I see the world, but this is how the world sees me. And so finding that alignment really helps folks become, like how you said, right? Become more confident in who they are and the strategies that best work for their unique personality.
I like how Sally puts it, different is better than better. And so
Yeah.
rather than try to fit in or blend,
Mhm.
embrace your difference. And that is even better than better. Maybe we should step back a bit and tell them
Yeah,
a little bit more about Fascinate, because I think their brain's going, oh, well, how does this help? And
sure.
so it, do you want to explain it, and then we can both talk about our fascination advantages?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fascinate is broken down into what is called the seven advantages. And it's the seven ways that people show up in the world. And within the test, you end up getting your Fascinate archetype, which is your primary and secondary advantage, and where they meet in the middle. And then what happens when you get that archetype, you are able to see, like, it shows you the words that people would use to describe you. And sometimes you're like, I would never think to describe myself as that. And so, but it's really, and it's all based on science. It's based on years and years of research um, and interviewing so many people. There's we have the Kelton study is what we call it. That is that research. So it's scientific. I mean, it is a scientific proven, you know, um, resource. And so it just helps you. I don't know, Hilda, how much you want me to go in on the detail, but it teaches you how to communicate at your best, right? It's all about at your best, right? See, like, you don't have to change. Different really is better than better. And that self acceptance is what I feel like Fascinate really helps you um, kind of escalate, I guess, like, or not escalate, accelerate that self confidence, because you're like, it's like you're given permission just to be who you are. Because once you're like, oh, this is how the world sees me, like, that's not bad. Like, that's actually great.
It was so funny
And
yesterday.
yeah,
I was
go
doing a
ahead.
coaching session with somebody, and she says, okay, well, I'll learn to be a little bit better at this. I said, no, 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 no. It's not being about better at something that is not your superpower. It's about
Right.
embracing your superpowers and recognizing that this is something that you're not as comfortable with. It takes more effort. So don't go getting a job in the area that is your least comfortable language. Find a job, find passions in your most superpowers, most instinctive, natural ways. And maybe we can put a little bit more flesh on that by saying, my superpowers, my fascination languages are primary is prestige. And I'm wearing the color of prestige right now. And my secondary is power. Prestige is continuous improvement. I like to continuously improve myself, processes, anything I do for my clients, always thinking about improving. And then the power is my ability to be decisive. And that combination of this primary and secondary creates a word, my archetype, that will help me be able to communicate more effectively. And my archetype is called the victor. And I remember when Finca was training me to be a fascination certified advisor, I never told people what my archetype was, because the victor to me sounds like I'm out to win at all costs.
Uh,
And she said, no, 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 Hilda, the victor is a good thing, because the victor's about creating win-win situations and solutions. And I said, that's who I am. Like, ever since I was 30 and a manager, I looked at how do I make, how do I find a solution that will help? So I embrace my victor. And
Yeah.
Hillarie, I forgot now,
Yeah, so
innovation.
it's so interesting. I have a very similar story, and that's what I love. This is like the example that you just gave, and what I'm about to share is just such a great example about how it's really just as much as it is like a tool for, communication and helping you. It's like a self-acceptance tool. It's like, yes, I don't have to change. Like, so anyway, so I had a similar story. So I am primary passion, which is the language of relationship. And then my secondary is prestige. So we do have that in common. And that archetype forms as the talent. And when I heard the talent, I was like, ooh. Like, I don't, like, yeah, sure. Like, I like to be on stage. I like to, I like to do these interviews. I like to, do keynotes. I like to train, all of that stuff. But I was like, man, that seems just so like, I don't know, like Hollywood actor-y. Like, why, I don't know if I want to own that. But then there was some revelation of like, no, like not everybody has the ability to not be nervous when they're on stage and talking. And like not everyone has the ability to form really quick connection with a person one-on-one or a large audience and make everyone feel like they're the only one in the room. And so it was kind of like this mindset shift for me. It was like, no, I need to own that. I need to own that passion. I need to own that prestige. And one of the things that also that we haven't talked about yet in the land of fascination is that also the test provides what's called your dormant advantage. And so it's the advantage that is going to be hardest for you to use and to communicate. And that was like a big aha moment for me as well when I saw that my dormant advantage, so it's the language that is the hardest for me to do, is mystique, which is the language of listening. And I always felt bad, like, man, I wish I could just sit back in a room, but then I was like, no, but that's not how I'm wired. That is not how, like, the world doesn't need me to be that way. They don't even see me that way. So I don't want to have to try to be this one on the outside observing and listening, because that's not serving me. That's not serving my clients, right? That's not serving anybody. And so it was really like the freedom, like all of the inner work that I had done on how like I see the world and all of that. It was fascination was like the missing piece to like, yes, I'm doing all this work so I can show up like this, so I can show up and be my best self and not have to change who I am. I can use the things I've learned and how I see the world to amplify my influence. And I really do see the world of fascination as your like quick jump into how you can create the most positive impact and influence that you can.
And that's what I love about the tool, because it does give you, the range, breaks down what is
Mm-hmm.
number one down to number
Yep.
7. And my dormant is innovation. And I'm going, what? I'm always coming up with ideas, and, I was the first to do this. I was the first to do that. Like, what is that? How come I'm not an innovation? And then over the years, I realized, innovation is out of the box thinking. Out of the box thinking, not just a little incremental. So my prestige was continuously improving, coming up with these ideas, but they were incremental ideas versus the out of the box ideas. And it became very clear to me when I had to do my anthem and I didn't know where to start. I didn't have that out of the box thinking enough. You can give me a page, and if it's blank, I don't know what to do with it. But the minute you
Yeah.
put a dot on that page, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
I'll make it better.
It's that prestige,
Yeah,
that continual like improvement and high standards,
so I
right?
need
Yeah.
something. Give me something, even a dot on a page, and I will do it.
Right.
But you give me a
Right.
blank canvas, and my innovation is not innovation. It's not there. So I really appreciate over the years of doing fascination, supporting people to understand their unique self. And if people know me, Rev Up, the U in Rev Up stands for uniqueness. And that's why when I was developing my program, I needed something science-based, objective,
Yeah.
and to find out people's uniqueness, fascination does that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I really love about this tool is it helps you decode like your energy signals that you're giving off that you might not even realize that you're giving off. I have this saying when I'm going in and training teams is I say your energy speaks before you do. And so, and that is what that's another just like incredible thing that I think this tool provides is it tells you this is how people perceive your energy. And it's about, again, owning that and recognizing that and like making sure, okay, like there's also this term in Fascinate land called double trouble. Like we don't want too much of our energy coming forward, right? It's not, we can't over rev on one thing or another. And the tool really shows us how to read our own energy, how other people read it. And so it's our chance to like the report. I feel like it's like just like listening to the energy, the impact that you might have on people. You know, you like the inner work and the how you see the world is about your intent, right? Like, oh, the intention is X, but the impact is Y. And I feel like the fascination really helps you see your impact in a very, very clear way and allows you to own that and then to be able to kind of dial up or dial, you know, like finding that equilibrium in that, right? And so yeah, that's one of the other things that I feel like is really important about this tool and that's really impactful.
And I know beforehand we were talking about it, and you sort of said, really, it's not about developing, being better.
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough. You talk about taking your strengths and using it from a strategic influence perspective.
Yeah.
You want to share a little bit more about that because we kind of talked about that a little bit beforehand.
Sure. Yeah. And really like, I mean, Sally, the phrase that Sally coined, like different is better than better. Like no one else could say it better than that. I don't even know if anybody could say it different than that and it be more impactful. But that different is better than better is really embracing and becoming more of who you are. And I tell this story a lot when I'm in trainings and speaking is there is a reason why there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of self-help books, right?
Yeah.
Because people are striving to be better, right? We're in this constant state of wanting to improve and wanting to be better. And there's also a reason why there are so many self-help books is because there is no one size fits all to helping you improve, right? Or to helping you be better, right? So it's likely, like, let's take like a great book like Atomic Habits, right? There are some people who that strategy is going to work for them because that's how they're different. That's how their brain is wired, right? But for other people, they might go, oh, like no matter how many times I try to implement this system, it's not working. And that's really because they haven't embraced that different is better than better. Like find the strategy that works for you and your unique personality. And just because it works for these 100 people over here, it doesn't mean you have to try to be that. Like that is the antithesis of what you want to do. And that's what leads to burnout. That's what leads to that frustration and that feeling of like being inauthentic or even imposter syndrome is because people are trying to be better and like everyone else instead of embracing who they are and welcoming that within them.
So true. Like I try to help people when I'm doing teams or individuals to really understand their strengths. Think of it as that it's so instinctual, it's so natural. And when you speak, in your instinctual, natural way, you really shine. you're confident because this is the natural you. And when you
Right.
shine, you fascinate others. So do you want to know how to fascinate is truly understand your strengths and
Yeah.
understand who you are and embrace that. Don't try to become that whole person. I think in the last century, I like using that word because I never thought as a kid that I would be able to use
Be
the
able to say that.
word. Oh, that seems so long.
Love it.
In the last century, when we do performance evaluations, we would look at, oh, you're good at this, and this, but you could do a better job of networking. Let's send you off to networking school, right? To be more confident. Meanwhile, this person may be a mystique. They're the language of listening. They observe.
Mhm.
They're not out there warm and passionate, handshaking or decisive and trying to make deals. They're the observer. And they need
Mhm.
to embrace that because when they do that, they're at their most natural self. And
Well,
what I try to help people understand that different is better and better. Embrace your most instinctive self.
right. And, one of the things I also talk about often is strengths can be learned, right? Or like skills, not
Yeah,
strengths,
skills.
skills,
Skills can always be taught.
skills. Yeah, skills can be taught. And you can be good at a variety of skills, right? Because you can be taught how to do them. But it doesn't mean that those skills are like equipping you to live at your highest potential. And that's what Fascinate helps you see is like, okay, yes, maybe you do have the skill, like you've had to learn the skill of putting together spreadsheets and being an Excel genius because that's what your job requires of you. But your primary advantage may not be alert. So you might be finding that that's why that drains you in your job, right? That you're not the language of details, that maybe you're the language of innovation, the language of creativity, and those spreadsheets are blocking you from your potential. So yes, you're good at it, but just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should do it, right? The good is blocking the great.
So let's talk about, you talked about energy of people
Mm-hmm.
and team energy. And
Yeah.
you were going to do some decoding of that. Can we get into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about that a little bit. So all of the 7 different advantages bring a different energy,
And the
right?
one we haven't talked about is trust. So we've kind of touched on
Yeah.
all the other six, I think. So explain trust because that's a key one that I want to make sure people understand what the language of trust is.
Yeah, trust is the language of stability. So it's very like even keeled. They're going to make sure like they're kind of like, okay, before we change this, let's make sure that we have thought through this. What could this impact, right? It's that consistency that they might have trouble moving or going fast, right? And so that's that energy, right? So imagine a team, right? It goes into that we've talked about the languages, and those languages each have energy. And so imagine if you have a team that has so many people that are really high innovation, really high, so that really high in creativity, really high in passion, so really high in relationships, so power, really high in power. That's confidence, right? And so those are intense energies,
Yeah.
right? And so, say the majority of your team has those energies, but then there are maybe a few folks on the team that have that trust and that mystique to where they're kind of more of that like stable, observant energy. So you can see how those energies would clash, right? And what I love about the Fascinate tool is that we can analyze a team. And it's you see me, for those of you watching on video, you see me making this kind of like rectangle, and it's because we have like this matrix that we can plot folks on to show the differences in energy. So the innovation, power, passion people are up here in that matrix, and the mystique and trust people are over here. And so you can see that laid out to where you see, okay, what's happening here? What are the potential problems that maybe the innovation power and passion people, like they're not realizing their energy is so intense and it's freaking these people out over here. So that's causing conflict, right? And they're frustrated because they are so hesitant and they're asking so many questions and they don't want to move, right? And
Yes, and
so
it
there
creates
is a
that
clash.
stress. I
Mhm.
did an engineering team, senior engineering team once, and the senior VP was an innovation and a passion, not
Mhm.
usual for engineers, and the other engineers really had trust and alert.
Alert.
And every time he came up with this great idea, they would execute it. They're engineers, they're problem solvers. But then he'd come up with a new idea, and they got to feeling that anything we do for our boss, he's not happy because he keeps wanting to change.
Yep.
Once they understood this difference, he doesn't care if you say, "Hey, that's a crazy idea." He's fine with that. But they
Right.
didn't understand that dynamic. So once they understood each other better, that chasm that they had, that tension was relieved through that understanding. We talked about burnout and being
Yep.
misunderstood. Now they understood each other, and so many other examples. That's one of my favorite parts when I get to do a team. I love the analysis piece, and then I see the
Yeah.
mapping, and then I tell them, this is what you are. Just did another client who they're on a board. So trust is definitely primary, but their secondary is innovation. They turned over and brought on a lot of people with innovative ideas. I said, you realize how powerful this combination is for you now? Because when
Hmm.
you're trying to raise money, then you've got the stability to think about, is this going to be good? Does this create, are we good from a
Yeah.
fiduciary perspective? But people with out of the box ideas that are going to help attract people who want to donate and stuff. So
Hmm.
I said, this is a really good combination.
Yeah, it's great. It's like that it, like I said, it accelerates team performance, right?
Yeah.
It just lets you see, oh, we're going to perform better if we can understand one another, right? And it's back to that intent versus impact conversation. It is people, if we don't know the intent of the other people on our team, their impact is going to be so harsh to us, right? It's going to make us feel like, oh, like, but if we can add in these tools to help us, it fast tracks empathy and allows us to understand, oh, that impact, but I understand their intent now. I know they're not doing that to stop the project. They're doing that to make sure, like, that is their superpower, to
Yeah.
make sure that we have thought about all the potential problems that could happen, right? And so it does help, it enhances empathy, and fast tracks being able to get to a high performing team. And then there's so many different layers you can add under that, but that's really that starting out with that perception, right? That impact, the impact you're having on people, the influence your energy is having in a room. That's one of the best ways to start. And then you can add those little layers of like the inner work too, because you don't want to forget the inner work.
So I've shared a few examples to,
Yeah.
get people thinking, whoa, this is powerful, right?
Yeah.
Share some of your experiences with my listeners and viewers.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing comes to mind, and this is actually something that I have experienced. I'll use a personal example in a team that I have led, is that we talked about the differences in energies and the intensities in energies. And I was on leading a team that my dominant energy, my dominant advantage, that passion was another person on my team's dormant
Hmm.
advantage. And so what I've learned is that yes, we've been talking about groups, right? But in leadership development for leaders, it's really important I knew, because I had the primary passion and her was her passion was dormant, that when I speak with her one on one, it's not that I'm changing my passion or my energy. but I'm aware of the impact it can have on that person that I'm having the conversation with. So instead of like how, if you're seeing me on video now, I'm very like in your face, like very engaged, very just like jumping through the
This session's
screen.
highly charged because we're both in our
Yeah.
element here.
Yeah. But I realized that, okay, I can still have the language of relationship and that warmness even if I sit back, right? I'm not changing who I
Yeah.
am, but I'm being considerate of the language that other person speaks. And so with leaders, that's so crucial, is if you are able to understand the language that your team, like individual team members, have when you're on your one-on-ones, or when you are in a performance review, or whatever, it helps you be a more effective leader and be more effective in the impact you can make and their professional development. So it's not only great for team dynamics, as a whole, when you're getting the full team together, but also that that one-on-one. I also, as an example, I've worked with a team where the leader was very, very, very high in innovation, right? And then anytime like there was an alert for a primary alert on the team, and it was like, we have to slow down. Things are gonna break. And there was consistent just that fighting and that clashing, but going in and having them realize that is their language. Again, it's like that drop of empathy that helps, like it's like a common language that it immediately reduces the tension in the room.
Yes, when you
And
recognize the other strengths of people, like the beauty that I find with fascination advantage, or how to fascinate, is when people understand the strengths of each other, and
mhm,
that each one of us plays a role in the success. You need your alert people to, I call them when you're implementing a plan, you want your alert to do that. They'll
mhm,
create the plan, they'll look at the risk and contingency factors, and they will go from A to Z. And they'll do it in a fraction of the time. The
absolutely.
innovators will come up with these great ideas, the passion people will connect and sell the idea. Everybody has a role, and we should embrace and motivate those people. Um, I want to end our conversation. We could go on and on, I know,
We absolutely
but I
could.
think we're sharing how we use the concept and the assessment tool of how to fascinate to the work that we do. And I know that one of the things that you wanted to talk about was that dual lens of leadership, kind of that
Mhm.
inner motivation and the outer influence. So let's wrap up and talk a little bit about that now.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I have my approach is when I work with teams and individuals is what I call the dual lens method. And so I talked about at the beginning how I love combining Fascinate with other tools, right? You never just
Yeah,
want
yeah.
one tool to be the end all be all, right? There are so many powerful tools. And so what I have found is when I couple the Fascinate, which is your outer influence, with, and it just in my opinion, like really, it is the only tool that can do your outer influence. With, I use the Enneagram to help inner motivation, like to see what motivates you. And so if you start here with, this is how you can be the best you. This is how you can be more of who you are. You can then understand through the Enneagram is what's going to motivate you to be the best you. So for example, I'm an Enneagram 3. My core motivation is to be seen as valued, respected, and as a success. And so, I teach people how they can use their motivation to be their best self. So, I know that if I want to be valued, respected, and successful, that I have to use these two things up here. I can't try to be anything else. I have to use my passion and prestige, because that is the only way that is going to help me achieve that motivation. Right. And so it's teaching people how, and for leaders, it's been extremely effective, is because they know, okay, these are my team's primary advantages. This is like my project manager's primary advantages are trust and alert. and I know, but how can I motivate them to make sure they are using trust and alert all the time?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, they can figure out their core motivation through the Enneagram, and it helps them align that to become, so it's really using the tools to amplify one another. And as people start seeing the impact of when they are using this, it settles that need to feel like they have to keep going. It just, like, they come in alignment and they work as like they find that equilibrium right within themselves, so they're not consistently fighting against who they are.
I love how you kind of share that it's not just one tool. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about self-discovery and
Absolutely.
learning you at your best. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it the other day. You use Enneagram, and I'm partnering with somebody who's got their Colby. And
Yeah.
Colby is cognitive. I remember Sally came up to Toronto and she said, the only other tool I really, really like is Colby because it's cognitive. I said, yes,
Yes.
I'm working with
Mm-hmm.
somebody now. And that is how you naturally show up in doing in
Yep.
life, problem solving, the way you approach things. And so yours is motivational, and that's important because when
Mm-hmm.
you know what motivates you, you can
Mm-hmm.
have a happier, more passionate journey of life,
Yeah.
professionally, personally, etc. And then the
Yeah.
cognitive helps you use your energy effectively because if you know you're good at doing it this way, like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
quick start, so I like to start up things very, very quickly. When you
Yeah.
know that and you know how much energy you have to use, it all kind of settles into this kind of better being that's just more effective and not as nervous or indecisive and figuring out, should I do it this way, should I do it that way. So I
Right.
love it. we
Yeah, it's owning who you are in all facets. It's okay that I'm motivated by success and value, and it's okay that the other person on my team is motivated by being competent and resource. Like, that's okay, and we can all use our motivations to become our highest self. Like, there's no good or bad, right or wrong, better. There is uniqueness and difference in who we each are individually.
and when we embrace those, we just become more confident and say, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's me, that's who I am. And I always
Mm-hmm.
liken it to when we were teenagers, we all just wanted to fit in
Fit
or we
in.
didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to be noticed. And yet, it's better to realize who you are and to shine in your uniqueness.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Shine in your uniqueness. That's beautiful. And exactly what I think all of us as, Fascinate certified advisors and people who are in this industry of helping businesses and leaders truly thrive, right? That's what we want. We want everyone to thrive in who they are
You know,
and be the best they can be.
we've probably got people really interested in Fascinate, and they'll probably go to
Yeah.
the website. I know I have it on my website, information about it and how they can actually purchase the tool from me. What about you, Hillarie? Do
Yeah.
you have it on your website as well?
Yeah, right now, honestly, right now my website is under major construction. So I have just like a nice little page up saying if you need to contact me, here you go. But on my LinkedIn and Instagram, I'm Hillarie Kay everywhere, and you can find me on there. Find me with
And
all
that's
the
for those that
interesting
are
stuff.
listening, it's Hillarie with two L's and an IE at the end.
Yeah, talk about unique and different, right? My mom was made sure that I was always going to be different because I've yet to meet someone with my same
I
spelling.
know I have to do a second, I have to be conscious about how do I spell Hillarie? Okay, two
Yeah.
L's and an IE at the
I
end.
know, I know. But yes, I'm Hillarie Kay on LinkedIn and Instagram everywhere. So there's lots of information on the dual lens method and energy on those channels. And yeah, Hilda, is a incredible FCA. So I highly recommend her if
And
you're
I'm
looking to
kicking
bring
it up a
fascination.
notch this year
I
by
know.
becoming a
I'm so
premium FCA.
Woohoo! I know. No, I'm so excited for you. And just it's really what it's all about, right? Like it's really the joy I think that comes from, and I'm obviously this is my passion coming out, but the joy that comes from helping others just become more of who they are. There's like no better feeling to watch that unlock. And I know every single person who uses this tool feels that way when they're, going into organizations and
And I
teams.
love how they identify I always go down to the third language, because your primary is what you do, your secondary language is how you do it, and your tertiary language is why you do it. And my tertiary language is passion. So why I do it is because I care about people.
We have all of ours like mixed up. Like I have my primaries passion, my secondaries prestige, and my tertiaries power. So we're just like this like conglomeration of one another. I love it.
What's coming up for you next, Hillarie?
I have some exciting keynotes that I'll be doing this year on this topic. A similar topic of like the 3 mistakes high performers make.
Wow.
And so we're really working on more of just the dual lens method that we talked about briefly, and different ways that method is helpful. Doing a lot of work in multi-generational teams. So how to use these tools to help you bridge the gaps that having teams with multiple generations can have. And so just a lot of training, a lot of speaking, and continuing to build the culture of how to fascinate in a really just impactful way.
Cool. Well, I've enjoyed just talking to a fellow fascination
Yeah.
advisor, and of course you're the chief of culture for How to Fascinate, so that's even even more impactful. So I'm so happy you joined us today, and we did have a very passionate
We
lively
did.
discussion, and we talked about how to fascinate, how to not look at burnout as in the way that most people do it, but being misunderstood, and how the How to Fascinate could really help people understand who they are and their uniqueness, and owning it. Once they understand how others perceive them, they can shine in that perception, because that's who they are. That's who they really are.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And to those people who are listening or viewing, I hope you really enjoyed this deep dive to How to Fascinate. Over the course of my 6 seasons, I've kind of given you a little bit of a snapshot of it, but I'm so passionate about it and so happy that Hillarie is here. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up. And there are many more podcasts with various topics, so join us, subscribe, and you'll get on the list to hear the latest topics that we talk about every week at Rev Up Your Business. Thanks again. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gann. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes. For more HR tips, strategies, and to learn how you can create a people-centric workplace, visit our website at peoplebrightconsulting.com.